And welcome back. It has been a little while since our last video. I do apologize for that delay. Just kind of working around some work items as well as waiting for our various parts orders to kind of trickle in. Either A, as the parts become available, or B, as we buy certain items and certain intervals, just kind of helping to space out the costs a little bit. But what I wanted to do today is bring you along and do another bit of a obviously, as you can see here, parts video, show you what's come in thus far for this build and kind of the direction of this build going forward. Now, if you've obviously seen the description and the thumbnail, then you know that yes, we have elected to make this a Procharged Ram 1500 with the 5.7. So what I want to do is go over some of the parts that have come in thus far to help us support running that supercharger. One item that you see here is from the fuel injector clinic. These are going to be the fuel injectors we use with our setup. Now, as you can see here, it comes in a very nice case. Nice custom foam to help protect our injectors, and this is one I kind of had out earlier, just kind of give it an eyeball, a little bit of a review. Very nice custom injector, and you can kind of see the opening on the end of that injector. This is the part of the injector that clips up in the fuel rail. So we got a much wider opening in there so that we can feed more fuel into this injector. Now, the reason why we have a set of injectors here, and I'll get more into this, is due to the type of Procharger kit that we're going with. These injectors were suggested by Jay Green, who does all the tuning for my vehicles, as well as that's where the individual, if you remember from the previous videos, that I get the performance parts from, as far as the cams, the valve springs and such. You know, cams, valve springs, non-MDS lifters, so on and so forth. But what I did was reached out to Jay, told him that we were going Procharged with it, and asked for a recommended set of injectors. These are 650 cc injectors, once again, from the Fuel Injector Clinic. And I believe that, and I will put a note here in the video, I believe that translates to 72 pounds per hour at 58 psi, which is what these are rated at. So we're going with 650 cc set of fuel injectors, which again, according to my tuner, Jay Green, will give us pretty much all the injector that we need for that particular motor. One of the other items we're going with, you can see here, is a 180-degree thermostat. So we're going to bring it down considerably from the 200-ish degree one that it comes with from factory. We've got a new set of 16 spark plugs. You can see the iridium, NGK iridiums. Now you'll notice that part number there is an LFR6 AIX-11. Now there's an important note on that part number. The factory part number for a standard iridium plug in this particular type of NGK is actually an LFR5 AIX-11. The reason why this is a 6, the way NGK does their plugs, that digit right there represents the temperature range. The higher the number, the colder the plug. So in this case, this is one range colder. And the reason why that is important is that we are supercharging this engine, as we stated earlier, which means since we're forcing in more air and more fuel, we're going to run higher than normal in-cylinder temperatures. So we need a spark plug that's capable of taking that heat and transferring it to the head faster than a standard factory plug would. So again, we want to take that excess heat that we're generating that combustion chamber, get it out, get it into the head, so that way the cooling system inside the head can help us disperse of that heat. Because we don't want a bunch of excess heat or excess cylinder head temperatures, because you can get into things like pre-ignition, things of that nature, which could be bad. You obviously see here a new set of 8 ignition coils. These are the same coils we used for our 2009 TRX project that you saw in a previous series. Been working well for that build and should work fantastic for this build as well. And I wanted to show that to you as well. That is a stock Hemi 5.7 factory injector, and you can kind of see the difference in the opening on the top of the injector as far as how much fuel can get from that fuel rail to feed that injector. So you notice there's these FIC injectors are considerably bigger as far as the fuel that can feed into them. There you go. Now, also, as you probably saw in the video description, we are going to use Banks to help us monitor our supercharged system. And to be fair, this was an item that was actually suggested in one of our Ram 2500 videos, in which we were reviewing the supercharger and the engine buildup in that one. I had a viewer comment that the 2500 would be a good platform to put a Banks system on. And at the time I looked, I must have missed it. But when I was researching Banks and their data monster, I could only find it for diesel applications, because Banks does a tremendous amount of performance products and analyzers and data loggers and such for diesel engines. So I didn't think much about it, kind of went on, looked at other things, and then getting back to this project, when I was looking at some other sites to order some other performance pieces, I saw an advertisement for Banks appear. And it says also for gas engines. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, really? I'm like, so I went back to Banks' site, gave me the make and model that I was looking for, and it gave me a list of compatible products. So with that being said, there's the Banks data monster, which works for quite a few diesel and gas ODB2 setups. Along with that, we've got our B-Bus starter kit, a ODB2 Y splitter cable. This is going to allow us to plug our I- in as well as feed our I-power. And we've got the 4-channel analog module kit. Now this kit is going to be used in conjunction with the data monster. We've also got 2 other boxes here. Notice that says that's a 15 alpha. If you can see that part number. You notice this part number is a 100 alpha. Now what these are, and these are some awesome looking sensors. I'll get this one out of the box here to show you. That is a stainless steel, dry as well as liquid compatible sensor. This particular one is good between 5 and 15 psi. What this one will be used for is to monitor our boost pressure coming off our supercharger. This one, the 100A, is good to 100 psi, and we're going to use this to monitor fuel rail pressure. And we'll get into all the specifics on this, about how we're going to install it, how we're going to wire it, and so on and so forth. We'll get into that in the detail when we get to that point. So, bring you back and show you the 4-channel analog kit. So by 4-channel, it gives us the ability to plug in 4 sensors that will then feed into the I- and display the data. So 2 of those channels we're going to use, one for boost pressure, one for fuel rail pressure, because fuel rail pressure as well as boost pressure are some critical numbers to know. Fuel rail pressure, because when you're wide open throttle and doing a boosted pull, in a Hemi application, we don't want our fuel pressure to drop below, 58 to 60 psi. Because if something happens to the fuel pump, or the fuel pump is weak and can't feed in an adequate enough amount of fuel, we can lean out the engine, which could lead to some very bad events happening shortly afterwards. And sorry, I'm just trying to get the display. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to get the display to wake back up on the camera so I can see what you're seeing. Now, that leaves us 2 other channels on this 4-channel kit. The other 2 channels, which I have not ordered the temperature sensors yet, and I will show you that obviously when we get to that point, is that we're going to take the other 2 channels on this kit and use them to monitor the fluid temperature of the transmission pan, as well as the fluid temperature of the rear differential. The transmission pan, we're going to put a much deeper, much beefier transmission pan, as well as the rear differential, and there's provisions in both of those pans to screw in a Banks temperature sensor that will also feed into this kit, which will then also allow us to display those values on our iDash. And you can actually get multiple of these 4-channel kits up to a point and kind of stack them together. But for now, we need just the one 4-channel kit. And of course, again, that was the Data Monster. And like I said, don't worry, we'll go through all that in the nth degree as far as the details in reference to how to wire it, how to set it up, program it, so on and so forth. Of course, that was the ODB2 splitter cable. Now, one other item. Show you this here, and we had to pick this one up because of the type of Procharger kit that we are running, and we'll get into this more when I bring it over to that item. Sorry, and talk a little bit more in detail. But you can see here we got an ATI super dampener. Now, we're not going to be installing this because of the claims that it will help you do there. We're installing this because of the type of Procharger kit that we're using. And I'll show you that part number there. Now, this is for a 2009 on up 5.7 Hemi. It's listed as a 6% overdrive pulley. It also works on a 6.4 liter Hemi truck as well. And look, like you can also see some here: Durango, non-Jeep, Commander, 3RG. Now, reason why we had this, and you'll also see in this part number, if you can see that there, it says 8 groove. This pulley will take the place of the stock pulley that is on the crank. This dampener comes with an 8 groove pulley on the outer edge. The Procharger is a stage 2 kit for a Hemi 5.7, meaning the stage 2 kit, the supercharger head unit, is driven by a separate dedicated 8-rib belt. It is not going to be driven off the same 6-rib belt that all the accessories are driven off of. That's why we need this. Now, what it looks like Procharger's doing, and we'll get into this more when we actually do another video in which we open up the box and kind of look at the contents of the supercharger. Since this dampener, or this new pulley slash dampener, already has an 8-ribbed belt feed on its edges, this one looks like the one that's built onto this dampener will be feeding the supercharger, and then chances are, from the looks of things, it looks like we're going to have a separate 6-rib pulley that'll bolt to the front of this dampener, and that'll finish running all the accessories. Because again, as we know, a standard Hemi 5.7, as far as the alternator, water pump, power steering, that's all 6-rib setups. So let me get you to the item that I'm sure a lot of you kind of clicked on the video to see. And you can see that we've got a guard cat patiently sleeping and guarding our product, as you can see here. This is Socks, by the way. I don't think he's made it into a video up to this point. This is his debut. But you can see what we have here is a Procharger. And again, this is what is called the Stage 2. But further, this is also what's known as a tuner kit from Procharger. So it is a Hemi 5.7. I believe that they refer to as classic, just due to the age of due to the year of the truck being a 2012. So Hemi 5.7 classic Stage 2 tuner kit. And the reason why it's called a tuner kit is that this particular kit is meant for engines that are no longer stock. When you get a standard Procharge kit, like if you were just going to put this on a stock Hemi setup, you would get their normal stock kit, meaning along with all the items you need to put the supercharger on, you would also get a tuner and a fuel injector or fuel system components, meaning a new set of fuel injectors. And you would use that tuner to basically copy the factory tune off your truck. You'd send it to Procharger. They'd massage it to get the factory tune to work with a supercharged application. They'd send it back to you. You'd use the tuner that came in a kit to re-upload it to the vehicle, or you can use a tune from anybody to upload into the vehicle. Now with a tuner kit, because you're putting their product on a system that isn't stock, there's a couple things you don't get with this kit. One being the tuner. So you have to source that yourself. One being fuel injector, aka fuel system components. You have to source that yourself. That's the reason why I reached out to our tuner and he suggested the injectors from the fuel injector clinic that he did. The tuner, I already have a Trinity tuner from Diablo that we'll be using for this project, as well as, and this is a footnote to remember, another item that does not come with this kit, but you can still get it from Procharger, so you have to order it separately, is the 2-bar modified map sensor. The standard Hemi map sensor cannot read positive boost pressures that the supercharger will generate. It requires a 2-bar map sensor. So what they give you, and I believe it's out of an SRT4 or an SRT8, we'll get into more of that when we open up the box, but they give you a map sensor along with a billet custom piece that will still install into the factory Hemi intake. It will accept the new map sensor that is capable of reading that boost pressure and allow the truck to basically allow the PCM to read that positive boost pressure. So keep that in mind, that if you get a tuner kit on this, you're going to be missing some pieces, and an important piece of that is going to be that 2-bar map sensor, obviously unless you've already got a method of taking care of that yourself. Some other items that we did as far as upgrades to this unit is that the stock Hemi kit, whether it's a stage 2 or non-stage 2 or tuner kit or non-tuner kit, comes with P1SC head unit. Spoke to Procharger support, pre-sale support. They are awesome to deal with, by the way, if you've ever had to call them. I've had nothing but good experiences with them. They will work with you. They will spec a system out with you to the nth degree. And after speaking with them and letting them know that what we were going to be using the truck for, as far as we were going to do a high stall torque converter, 2.5 stage cam, not an MDS delete, and after speaking with two of their tech support individuals, the minute I said Hemi 5.7, they strongly suggested going with a D1 SC head unit. So we upgraded from the P1 SC that came with the unit to a D1 SC, and their reasoning for that was, although the P1 SC will work, nothing wrong with it, their suggestion for a D1 SC is because the Hemi revs at such low RPMs, even peaking at such low RPMs, the D1 SC per them is capable of generating boost just a little bit faster than the P1 SC can. So we made that upgrade to the kit. It wasn't too much more to have that head unit changed out, and we did, and we'll show you this obviously, and don't worry, I won't unbox this or go through it or take anything out, and we'll bring you along for another video to do that. But we also did some cosmetic upgrades to the head unit and to the bracket and paid a little bit extra to get those done up in black instead of the satin aluminum color that they would normally come in. So that's where it sits right now, just to kind of give you just a quick high-level overview. Oh, I'm sorry. And you can also see our new radiator came in as well, CFS. You've seen us use that before on our 2009 TRX build. It's been working great. It's been working phenomenal there. So we just went ahead and picked up a new one for this one, because since we'll be pulling the engine out and doing all of this engine work and putting in all these new parts, a radiator is fairly cheap in the grand scheme of the cost for the parts and the build and such. Now, one item that I will happily do, if anybody wants to see it, and put your comments below, is that once we get this build done, if you would like, we'll do another follow-up video and we'll kind of go through and add up everything we've done so far and kind of give you a grand total ballpark price of what the entire performance upgrade cost would be, at least at the time that we stop. Obviously, we'll be making tweaks and changes, but you know, we'll kind of give you a base figure, so to speak. And I want to see. I think that was just going over my notes here real quick. I believe that is the bulk of what I wanted to cover on this one. And again, don't worry, we'll bring you back. We'll do an unboxing on this. We'll go through the parts on it, give you a kind of an overview of what it is, because you will do, in this particular kit, you do get the intercooler, all the piping, the head unit, the brackets, all the bolts, all the hardware necessary to get this bolted up to a standard, 5.7 block. But again, keep in mind that going with a stage 2, although it's nice that it has its own dedicated 8-rib belt, it requires you to purchase that ATI dampener in order to support that. And that dampener does not come with this kit. It is a separate purchase item. So with that being said, I hope that gives you an overview of the parts that have come in thus far. So again, we'll be using the Banks iDash Monster to monitor, at least for starters, the boost pressure as well as fuel rail pressure. We've got the ATI dampener in to give us our 8-rib drive capability for our head unit. Obviously, as you can see here, we've got our supercharger kit itself that has come in, and we have our coils and our colder range spark plugs that also go with this kit. So we've got a few kind of lingering items like the exhaust system to come in yet, but I think we're almost to the point where we can start looking at getting our Hellcat out of here, getting our red Ram back in here, and starting at least the procedure for pulling the engine out, getting it down to the machine shop so they can go over at least the short block and do what they need to do. So with that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you that has subscribed to this channel thus far. We have exceeded the 1,700 subscriber count, and thank you all for helping us to achieve that. If you have not subscribed already, please consider doing so. Many, many, many thanks. I've been asked before about how members can help better support the channel. For now, the only thing I ask for is the only thing I routinely do ask for is that it doesn't cost you anything. Is if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And when the ads do come up on the screen, if you wouldn't mind, just let them play through, let them do what they need to do, and that goes for any content creator, is that once the ads play in full, that's how the creators get paid. Because anything that comes in for ad revenue on this channel goes straight back into helping us obtain the parts for these types of projects. So again, thank you if you have subscribed. If you have not, please consider doing so. And with that being said, I will let you go. I've kind of rambled on long enough here, and I will bring you back for the next one. which I'm thinking is going to be us opening this box up and just kind of going over the contents of it and letting you see what one of these kits look like straight off the shipping truck, so to speak. With that being said, you can see that our guard is ever vigilant, and I'll bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye.